Hey guys, what's going on? Watomarmelon here today, and this is on the second channel, so make sure to go check out my main channel. Link will be in the description. You can also find it by just going to this channel's homepage. You'll be able to find my other channel, my main one, just fine. I recently uploaded a collection video showing off some of my rarest and most expensive cards, so make sure to go and check that out. Subscribe if you're new, subscribe to that one as well, and let's get on with it. So this is my first market watch, but I wanted to look at a lot of modern stuff and then at the end get into a couple of vintage products as well. But the first thing to look at is the Blue Eyes White Dragon Ghost Rare, which I believe most people were not expecting Blue Eyes White Dragon Ghost Rare to be as cheap as it is right now. As you can see, there's just been a sharp drop. I was expecting a sharp drop, and just looking at Ghosts from the Past 1 sales and performance over a year's span, it basically just kept dropping. If you look at the Dark Magician, it just keeps dropping for a year's time, and then eventually it starts going up again. I would not be surprised if the same trajectory holds for the Blue Eyes White Dragon, although something to note is that Dark Magician and Ghost from the Past 1 started out in a much stronger market. But looking at the actual prices, you have one unrated seller at $175 if you include shipping, and then it goes on to $200, and you can find big city cards at $200. Great seller, I would recommend. And you have a bunch of 100% but smaller number of sales people as well at 200. So that's pretty significant, and something to note about Ghosts from the Past 2. If we just look at the entire line of Ghost Rares from the set, I think that Ghosts from the Past 2 might not be a good thing for modern collectors, in the sense that why would you buy a different collectible modern card when you can get these these incredible Ghost Rares for such a cheap price relatively? Like, why buy a Starlight Rare if you can get a Blue Eyes White Dragon Ghost Rare SDK art for $200? It just doesn't make sense why you would pay more than $200 for most of those Starlight Rares unless you're playing with them. You can get a Cyber Dragon Ghost Rare for under 100. You can get a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon Ghost Rare for like 70, and we'll look at that next. But the prices go up, around 70. Near mints are probably going to run you 75. But if you just look at the entire slate of Ghost Rares, you can get a lot of great stuff for really, really cheap. And so why would you spend your money on these modern Ghost Rares or modern Starlight Rares when you can get cards? Are you going to really pay more than $350 for a Starlight Rare when you can get a Ghost Dark Magician Girl for $350? That's, I think, a thought that's going through a lot of modern collectors' heads. And even though you can get these incredible Ghost Rares for so cheap, I think it sort of caps a lot of the prices you're going to be seeing on other modern collectibles, whether it be Ghost Rares, Starlight Rares, or Collector's Rares. All of them are close substitutes for each other, with which obviously Ghost Rares are going to be most impacted by Ghosts from the Past 2. When you put this many bangers in one set and you increase the Ghost Rare pull rates, there's just going to be so many of them available on the market because the supply is so high. They printed this set into oblivion. I just can't imagine that this is going to be good for prices of other cards, although it's great if you're trying to buy cool Ghost Rares on a budget. So we already saw Blue Eyes White Dragon. Next up, here's an example of one of the Ghost Rares that I think, you see that it was starting to go up. I think Ghosts from the Past 2 came out, around May, early May. You look at Crystal Clearwing Synchro Dragon out of Legendary Duelist Synchro Storm, so let's look at its entire life cycle. So it really just started decreasing, but how can a Ghost Rare like this compete with the Ghost Rares from Ghosts from the Past 2? It just can't. And so, it's not surprising to me that you're seeing these sell in near mint first edition for, mid to low 30s, and I would expect it to continue to drop, because are you really going to spend $38 on Crystal Clearwing? I mean, I think it's an awesome card, but relatively, you can get a Dark Arm Dragon for like 60. Are you going to spend 38 or let's just say 40 on this instead of 50 for a Dark Arm Dragon Ghost Rare? I don't know. I think that's very difficult. Now looking at some Starlight Rares, here's Book of Lunar Eclipse. This is one that I love. This is the only English Starlight Rare I currently own. I just, I'm not too high on Starlight Rares. I think there are a lot more of them out there than people think. But this is one that I really like. I love that it's a spell card, and sort of the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs look really nice on this card. As you can see, it's really not performing super well. I don't think it's playable. I just think the card's not very good, but I think it looks quite nice. But you can see that there are tons and tons of sellers lining up at, the low to mid 70s on this card. And if you look at, the price of this card as it has performed over the years, it's just been a constant decline, and it only seems to get lower and lower. This little upswing at the end I don't think is super meaningful, but you can just see that Starlight Rares are not performing well long term. I think a lot of people didn't realize that as they printed more and more of these Starlight Rares, they become close substitutes for all the Starlight Rares that have already been released. So, as you get more and more of these Starlight Rares, it becomes impossible to collect every single Starlight Rare for most people. So you have to pick and choose your favorites, and they're going to keep releasing them, so it's quite possible that they're going to release something in the future that you liked better than, your previous Starlight Rares. And so you're seeing a huge bottom out on a lot of the Starlight Rares that I think people just were collecting because they were Starlight Rares, not because they liked the card itself. Here's one that I'm surprised at how cheap it is, but if you look at the trajectory of shooting Majestic Star Dragon's Starlight Rare, it's also just been hit very, very hard. I think this is a really nice looking card, and it's the first printing of this card, which is very important, and it's in Starlight Rare. So if they reprint this card ever again, unless it's some sort of very limited promo card, this is going to be the version of it that everyone wants. And albeit it's not a super playable card, I think it's a really, really cool looking card. And this is another one that I have my eye on. I don't know when I'm going to pull the trigger, because it seems like there are a ton of these things lined up at $115. So, there's no urgency on my part to buy this thing. And I'm, expecting that there might be an even bigger dip in prices so far. Or I guess, prices in the future. On top of the fact that, for me, I'm trying to get out of a lot of the cards that I think might be harder to move. If the market contracts quite a bit and there's much less sales volume. And I'm trying to get into other areas, other card games, like Pokemon, where it's, larger market. It's much easier to sell. Everything's much more liquid. So I want more cash on hand and more liquid assets on hand. So I'm not going too hard into the Starlight Rares or buying modern stuff right now for Yu-Gi-Oh, but you can see that this card has quite a large supply at 115. And then comparing it to a different Starlight Rare out of Dawn of Majesty, you have the Stardust Dragon, which I don't know why this card became as expensive as it did. I'm not saying it doesn't look good, but it already has a first print Ghost Rare and a first print Ultimate Rare. And why would you ever buy this card over the first print Ultimate or Ghost Rare? I just don't understand that. Obviously, those two are much more difficult to get, but this to me, this was the first card, I believe, or maybe the second card to have a Ghost Rare, Ultimate Rare, Collector Rare, and Starlight Rare. So it has all four of what I consider to be protected rarities. So there are a ton of close substitutes for the Starlight Rare. And so if you just look at the trajectory over time, it's been, it had that huge dip right here, recovered a bit, but it seems to be dipping again. I just don't see this card, you see it's at 510 right now, and this market price is not correct, right? It's not a $600 card. You can get this card for $515 if you include shipping. Here's $535, $565. This is not a $600 card. And I would expect that this card's going to continue to dip more and more, because there are more of these out there. A lot of the collectors that got in during the hype are selling off their cards, and this is one of the sort of chase cards of the pandemic era, I would say. And so I would not be surprised if this continues to dip. And so taking a look at the Collector Rare version of this card, the Collector Rare version has performed quite well, but if we look at its yearly trajectory, it had this little upswing, and it's kind of been more stable because I think Toon Chaos as a set was not printed that much relative to the demand for the set. And you can see that the lowest prices are for Unlimiteds at, well, actually, this is the second page. I think you can get Unlimiteds. They're going to run you about $120, $125. But the first eds are looking at, around 215 to 230 from verified sellers. So it doesn't seem to be performing as well as it once did, but it's not dipping as hard as the Starlight Rare. And I think First Ed Toon Chaos, there's less of it out there than other major core sets. And even major size sets like Toon Chaos as well. So it's a pretty incredible looking card, but it has so many close substitutes. I don't know if I'm ever going to own one, even though I love collecting collector rares. So here's a collector rare that is really low on supply, and for those who don't know, Battles of Legend, Crystal Revenge, I think is what the new Battles of Legend this year is going to be called. It offers support for the Queen's Knight, King's Knight, Jack's Knight, and Joker's Knight archetype. Arcana Triumph Joker doesn't really, it's not a very good card, I don't think. But, as you can see, it is starting to rebound quite a bit. That's, not super significant in the large scale of things, but you see that there is this rebound. And there are very few, only 11 listings currently on TCG Player. This is ripe, and as you can see, some of these are lower condition ones, where you're seeing near mints, $60 if you include shipping from 0% sellers, and then it goes up to $70. And so this thing is almost wiped off the market. I thought this was a pretty decent buy. I have 6 of these, actually. But I think it's a really beautiful looking card, and for how hard it is to get a specific collector rare, I don't understand why one of the best looking modern collector rares would be valued so low. Why it was selling for under $40 at some point. Going over to Joker's Knight, this card might see a resurgence. I would keep your eye on it because of Battles of Legend, Crystal Revenge, as I said before. I've been slowly picking these up. It's still pretty cheap. You can get them for around $35. Here's a lightly played for $24, so I would take a look at this card. It's a really good looking card, and I think these cover arts of King's Court are not too bad because they're pretty cheap, so it's not like you're buying in at Starlight prices. And for a specific collector rare, there are 15 collector rares, one every, let's say, 3 boxes. 3 to 4 boxes is actuality, so it's about, to get a specific collector rare is about 1 in every 50 boxes. Versus a Starlight Rare, which is 1 in every 125 boxes. So you're only expecting 2.5 times as many collector rares as Starlight Rares to be in print, and I would expect that core sets are generally printed more than side sets, so that might not be the case for King's Court. And that's just something to keep your eye on, because these are running, $25 for these lightly played. You could get near mints of this card for $20, $25 for a long time if we go back in the sales. See, you're looking at $29 if we go back. This is just within May itself. You can go back earlier. Here are light plays at 24, near mints at 24, just a month ago. And so when you have this card that is only 2.5 times more likely than a specific Starlight Rare, I don't know. $25 for a pack art card is not too bad. And then the last collector rare that we're going to look at from King's Court is Rescue Rabbit. This card has just been failing pretty hard. I actually picked one up in a trade not too long ago. Really cool looking card, but it doesn't seem like there's a great market for it. Its original print is secret rare, and I think that's what a lot of collectors are going after and a lot of players are going after. Solemn Strike, this is one that I don't have any of, but it's a lot cheaper than I thought it was going to be because it's playable, and so I might pick up some of these at below 50 sooner rather than later. I do want to place that for my collector rare collection. A card that I want even more than that is Torrential Tribute, and we're seeing that there's just this huge decay. If we go at the 3-month, I think it's easier to see that it sort of plummeted, went up again, and then it's plummeting back down. You can pick them up from lower feedback sellers for under 50, and then higher feedback sellers with more sales at around 50. Not too bad for a collector rare of a pretty iconic trap card. And then looking at some Toon Chaos collector rares, we have the Chaos Creator. This is one that I really like. You can see near mints unlimited are around 60, and then if we go up to first edition, you're seeing them around 115. Really, really cool looking card. And this is its first printing. It's in a protected rarity. So I don't think it's too bad. Also, first edition Toon Chaos is rare enough that, I don't feel as bad about buying Toon Chaos that first edition collector rares as some of the other sets. Toon Chaos, we've got Chaos Emperor Dragon. Looking at the near mints, you can get them for around $155. And if we compare that to the secret rare Invasion of Chaos first editions, you can get those lightly played for under $150. And so, I don't know. It gets to a point where would you rather the modern reprint as opposed to the OG light play? And then if we look for just near mints and ignore the lightly played ones, you're going to see near mints. This is a really low feedback seller, few sales at $250. I would not personally pick that up. And then you start seeing lower sales at $350 and then $450 on the Chaos Emperor Dragon first edition near mint out of Invasion of Chaos, excuse me. And then if we look at the ultimate rare out of Duelist Pack Kaiba, you can see the near mints are around $265. Just to show off light plays real quick, you can see they're actually higher than the Invasion of Chaos light plays. First edition Duelist Pack Kaiba seems to be a bit rarer than first edition Invasion of Chaos. But one thing to note about the ultimate rares is that you have a couple at $265, and then once you clear those out, those 3 copies, you're back up to $400. $380, $400, which is pretty similar to where the first edition secret rare is looking. So this is a card that if someone wanted to buy a playset off TCG Player, they could easily remove the lower end copies and bring it back to around $400 on the ultimate rare, pretty similar to Invasion of Chaos. Okay, getting to the last 2 cards, we have Lava Golem, first edition secret rare. Pretty nice card, and I'm surprised that light plays are only 31 because it's kind of playable as well in certain stall decks, and then the near mints are only $66. And so this is a card that I might get a playset of. It's a first edition secret rare out of an OG set. Very beautiful card, and first edition secret rare, it's not too bad. And then End of Anubis first edition, you can see that you can get light plays for $12. And to me, this is kind of an interesting card because its secret rare this is the last secret rare of the OG Duel Monsters era, where Ancient Sanctuary was the last set to have secret rares in Duel Monsters, and then it went to Soul of the Duelist, and they introduced ultimate rares and got rid of secret rares in main sets. So this is kind of iconic in that sense. And if you look at Pokemon, you have those sets like Skyridge, which sort of the last set of the pre-Nintendo era. Those sets are not easily available, and the cards inside of them were undervalued for a very long time. And I wonder if these first edition End of Anubises are a lot cheaper than you would otherwise think. You can see you can get playsets of them at $26, and the light played for even cheaper than that. So let me know what you guys think. Subscribe if you're new. Leave me a comment letting you know if there's something I can improve on this video. But it's been your boy Watomarmelon, and peace out.